This is Lee and Britta in our backyard, and we wanted to spend a few minutes just sharing with you some thoughts on self-compassion, something that seems really important right now, given the world we're in. And yeah, it's such a vital part of us taking care of ourselves and everyone else around us, and it's sometimes a little bit of a taboo topic. Like compassion should always be directed outwards, and and that it's mutually exclusive to direct it outwards and inwards. And actually, we just want to take a few minutes to share with you some of the points as to why we think self-compassion is really valuable and how we can cultivate it. And the foundation of the whole thing, you might say, is that self-compassion it's the same muscle that we're sharing outward. We're strengthening that same muscle when we share compassion with ourselves, and it makes us more generous. Period. So I just want to, right out of the gate, just establish the possibility that self-compassion is a good thing. Most of us just need to hear that. Self-compassion is actually a good thing that makes me a happier, healthier, more effective human being, right?
Right. So I've been, supporting people in the last few weeks, and what I've actually been hearing is that people have been really hard on themselves. They've been hard on themselves because they're having a hard time, and they think they shouldn't be having a hard time because they're not sick, or people in the third world have it much worse, and nurses have it much worse. And so if I'm just scared to get sick, that doesn't matter. or if I'm just really upset because I can't see my friends, it doesn't matter. Or because I'm really upset because I'm home all day with my kids and I'm homeschooling now, and I don't feel like I'm equipped for that. That doesn't matter. Like, that's not real suffering. And we just want to say, first of all, that we really believe right now, in some way or shape or form, every one of us is suffering. Like, there's people, like, some people don't sleep at night. Some people drink more now. Some people are binge eating. Some people are like, like, just lose it on their roommates or their husbands or their children, or like, there's symptoms of where you can see that we are stressed, because our world is changing. And we don't really know how long this is going to be, or like, and yes, we do have, most of us, probably most of you that are listening to this, have a roof over your head, and you probably have enough food, and you may even have enough toilet paper. And if you don't have toilet paper, you have tissue paper. So we're okay, like, but we're also stressed, and our world has changed, and we're all cooped up inside. And so the first thing I would just want to say is, like, I believe that we're all in some way stressed or suffering, and that we deserve, or each and every person, whether you are single or coupled or with children, or whatever your situation is, whether you're working under different circumstances now than you used to, or whether you're out of work, all of us deserve self-compassion right now. It's really important, I think, to be able to hold this whole situation, in love and generosity, and be generous to other people. So, for example, I asked Lee if we could go outside. and he was like, well, the light isn't that great outside. And I was like, yeah, but I feel so much better being outside than inside. I am so sick of being inside. Are you? Like, I'm just like sitting in front of a computer screen most days, like, it's like, I'm so sick of it. And I was like, I just need the birds. I need the trees. I need some flowers. I need some beauty, some natural beauty, So that was an act of self-compassion, towards myself. And then it was an act of compassion of Lee towards me to let us do that, right? So we want to give you a few tips of, yeah, but before we go to the tips, I just wanted to say another word about what we mean by self-compassion is not self-absorption.
This is a really important
Yeah,
point.
really, really important. Because that's what our fear is, right? That we're then selfish if we're self-compassionate, right? So, and here's how you can tell the difference if you are self-absorbed or if you're self-compassionate. Self-absorption always makes your world smaller, and you're going more and more in, and you can't really see anybody else anymore, and it's all about you. And there's this movement, it's kind of in and tight, and it's tight and constricted, and it's like there's tightness with it, and fear and panic almost, like, it's like self-compassion is soothing, is like when you're really self-compassionate, it's opening, like the postures of opening, of softening, and of having more compassion for others because you know what it feels like inside, and so therefore you're tending to yourself and you know how tender it is, and therefore your heart opens to others. Yeah, and there's a natural generosity that comes from self-compassion versus self-absorption, which is very ungenerous and very much about me, me, me. Yeah, so just watch that, like, and actually, the interesting thing is when we're really hard on ourselves and let our inner critic beat us up, which I've been hearing from people, like, I should be helping more, I should be doing more, I shouldn't be complaining. Then it's all about me. You know what I mean? Then it's all like the inner critic is having a heyday and you're actually just beating yourself up and you're no use to anybody.
So that first point is self-compassion is not the same thing as self-absorption, and many folks right now are saying, "Oh man, I'm just losing it, and I'm eating a lot of ice cream now, or I'm suddenly now binge watching blah blah blah," and okay, that's all right. It's not the end of the world, but we want to be sure not to confuse that with self-compassion because self-compassion leaves us feeling resourced, and it leaves us feeling, as Britta said, bigger. And example for me the other day was I got invited to go on a walk with a friend, and um,
6 feet apart walk.
yeah, 6 feet apart walk with the dogs. And I got invited to go with him, and he's a very grounded, earthy guy, and it was great. And we got to spend the morning together walking the dogs. And first of all, I didn't know how much I needed this, so this is going to be our second point in just a second, seeing what feels good to you, like discovering what is it that feels good to you. I didn't know how much I needed to be outside and to slow down and to actually spend time with him saying very little or just walking in silence. Like I've been so much thinking and so much sharing, and for me, in the world I'm in, there is a certain level of emotional processing that I get to do. And I actually just needed some grounding and some silence. And so it felt really good. And one of the ways I would count that, or I know that that is self-compassion, is that when I came back from my walk, I felt more generous. I felt more grounded and I felt more generous. It didn't leave me feeling more like, oh, I got my walk and it's like, oh, it left me feeling more open. That's a good indicator that we're in the territory of self-compassion, not self-indulgence. So that takes us to our second point, which is finding things that feel good
The
to you.
first point. First point. We got to do the first point.
Well, what's the first point?
The
Is
first
acknowledging
point
that you
is-
need something, right?
Yeah, no, acknowledging that you're even suffering.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was like, so to be able to have compassion, whether outwardly nor inwardly, is the first step is to acknowledge I'm suffering. Like to acknowledge, ooh, I'm having a hard time. This is difficult for me. It's difficult for me not to see my friends. It's difficult for me to homeschool my kids. It's difficult for me, whatever it is for you, to be out of work or to be working my butt off because I now have, like, I have to change my whole work structure. For some people, it's like everything has slowed down. For some people, everything has sped up. Like, like
Or both, right? Or
yeah,
both.
yeah.
Like we've had both experiences,
yeah, we've
right?
had
So
both experiences.
everything within the way our business works has sped up trying to cope and meet people's needs, and yet the trappings of daily life have slowed to a halt.
Yeah. So it's like, so whatever it is for you, or maybe you're isolated because you're living by yourself and it's like, or you're missing your family or whatever it is, like, it's like, it's the acknowledgement I am suffering. I am having a hard time, and giving yourself permission to acknowledge that. Like, it's okay to acknowledge that. Actually, it's really important to acknowledge that, like, otherwise we can't be compassionate if we don't acknowledge that there is suffering, because compassion is a response to suffering. Yeah. So that's step number one.
So
And then
step number one.
number
So
two
step number one, acknowledging that we are in fact suffering. Right. Okay. Step number two.
is to notice what feels good. So once you've noticed I'm stressed out, or I'm suffering, or I'm in pain, or this is difficult for me, it's like to see what feels good. What would feel good that would ease the suffering or soothe the suffering, right? So that could be going for a walk 6 feet apart,
Or sitting
like,
outside.
or sitting
in
outside in
nature.
or maybe you really need to move, right? Like, it's like, because we're kind of cooped up inside, or maybe it's I need to call a friend and just tell my friend I'm suffering and I need some support. So there's so many ways, but to really track, like during the day, what feels good and what doesn't feel good, and when does my nervous system calm down, and when does it get all riled up, So to notice that and to give yourself the things that feel good, that feel soothing, that feel kind of like healing balm on the wound of this, because there's sort of like a collective wound now, right? So, and then the third one, is asking for what you need. So it's noticing what it is that I need, and then also asking for it from others, like because we're also not just self-soothing ovens or self-cleaning ovens, like we're also meant to be interdependent and to connect, and so like if you like Lee, if he knows that a walk with a friend is a really good thing for him outside, then he may just call the friend up or another friend up and say, are you available to go for a walk with me, because I need that, like, or I just did a little phone chain with my girlfriend, and I said, like, there's like the four sisters, and I was like, let's have every Friday morning at 9 a.m. just a call to check in how we're doing, like just to have some deeper sharing how we're all doing with this, like, and I was like, I need you girls now, like I always need them, but now I'm really aware of it more than ever. Yeah.
I came aware of my need for connection, which maybe is an obvious one in this situation, but it's interesting. The gym where we go is doing these online classes now, and yesterday we had an online class, and when it was over, it was on Zoom, right? So everybody can see everybody else. And when it was over, I didn't tell you this, everyone hung out for like, 5 minutes or so, just chatting and saying, hey, Debbie, it's nice to see you. Hey, Rich, hey, like, and because we hadn't seen each other. So it was, and I realized, I've got a need for connection that I really took for granted at the gym. That but it really, like, those 5 minutes really rejuvenated.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Getting in touch with what your needs are, and then asking for them or finding ways to get those needs met.
Yeah. It's like so noticing, acknowledging the suffering, like giving yourself permission to acknowledge that, finding ways what feels good to you and give that to yourself, and then also what can you ask for. Step 3 is like asking for what you need. So those are like some things that you can take right with you now today into your life, like, and then also tomorrow we are holding a self-compassion kind of mini workshop, that we adapted from the Stanford University Compassion Institute. And so we will hold that tomorrow, Friday, from 5 to 7 Pacific time. And Lee will post the link. And,
I just put the link in, yeah. So.
And yeah, I can't read what these people are saying because I don't have my glasses on.
Well, we're doing this workshop tomorrow. Yep, as Britta said, from 5 to 7.
That's hard. I can see that.
And CCT, the Compassion Institute at Stanford that Britta and I both teach with, one of the things they've discovered is that self-compassion is one of the hardest kinds of compassion for us to cultivate. So I really invite you to spend these couple of hours. It's going to be really a beautiful exploration in why self-compassion is important, what it is. We'll go further into what it is and what it isn't. What does it feel like? And some practices right there that you can take with you that we can go deeper into in those 2 hours to really establish self-compassion for yourself. And it really is the reframing. One of it is the reframing of splitting apart self-compassion, not being self-indulgence and not being selfish, but actually just the contrary, it being one of the cornerstones that allows me to be generous and compassionate, period. So it's really a beautiful, beautiful workshop that we've come up with, and it'll be online, and we'll take you through some exercises, and we would love for you to see us. We'd love to see you there, 5 to 7 Pacific tomorrow night. Yeah.
Tomorrow's Friday, right?
Friday,
yes,
yeah.
Friday. Awesome. So start your weekend with compassion for yourself. How's that?
Yeah.
So we hope to see you there. Much love. Mwah.
Have a beautiful day.
Yay.
See you soon. Bye.